speed race, CB speed race, hop in the range, take off into space.
Hey guys, it's cbgray coming to you guys live at another Destiny video. How are you guys doing today? So in today's video, we're going to be coming back with another rankings video. I want to apologize real quick for how long it's taken to get this video out. That's because I've been holding on to hope that a solar rocket launcher was coming into the game, either in the solstice or in solar week, if that exists. But the closer it's getting to Shadowkeep, the less and less likely that's getting. So if we do end up with another exotic that's not on this list, it's just because it came out after the release of this video and not because I forgot about it. Another thing I want to quickly say is thank you for the support on the other rankings video, like the Nightfall weapons and the Forge weapons. That one has 4.4 thousand likes on it, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support on that. And if we can get to 15 likes on this video, that would be unbelievable. So let's get right into it. So remember, this is an opinion-based list, so I understand that we're all going to have differing opinions. So let me know in the comment box below how you would differently rank these weapons. Also, this isn't going to be a video telling you how to get every single weapon. This is more showcasing them, but I will have links in the description and in the pinned comment on how to get every single weapon on this list, so that after you see the ones you like, you can go ahead and go for those weapons. So at the bottom of this list, and I know some of you guys probably could have guessed it, is the exotic hand cannon that came from Season of Opulence, the Lumina. This is a weapon that I like to say sometimes is ahead of its time because it's the first support weapon that we really are getting in the game, and the player base just hasn't quite adopted the idea of a support weapon just yet. So let's talk about its exotic perk real quick. It's called Noble Rounds, and so what happens is when you get kills with this weapon, it leaves behind remnants, and so absorbing a remnant converts your next hit fired shot into an ally seeking noble round and partially refills the magazine. So this is a really cool perk for a couple different reasons. So basically what it's saying is once you have those remnants that you leave behind and you shoot your teammate with one of those ally seeking noble rounds, what's going to happen is you can actually heal your teammates for one, and another thing that you can do is buff the weapons of your teammates. So this is really cool in the sense of when you do buff your teammates, there are some weapons that work really well, and I talked about this in a previous video, but there are just some really good combinations out there that I would recommend you try. One being, if you buff your teammate that has Lemon Arc, they're going to be able to one-shot bow somebody. If you have somebody that has Arbalest, they're going to be able to one-shot body somebody. If you have somebody with the Sturm and Drain combo, you might as well just quit the game because they're going to be ridiculously OP. There's just a lot of really cool combinations out there to try, and so the idea of Lumina is actually a really cool one in theory. It's just going to take a little bit longer for weapons like Lumina to be accepted in the game, in my own personal opinion. So it is a fun one to try in Crucible. It can somewhat hold its own in Crucible, but there's just such better options that I wouldn't choose to use it if I was playing by myself with it. In PvE, it can be a cool one to keep your teammates alive. I think that there's other options with abilities that kind of make Lumina kind of somewhat useless, but it's still not bad. And then lastly, in Gambit, it's also decent in Gambit. It's just one of those weapons where it's really not bad. There's just other weapons in every category that are better than it, except for the support role, but the support role hasn't yet been adopted, so that's why it's at the bottom slot. Still a really cool one to try out, and I would recommend going for it if you do get a chance. Before I mention the next weapon, I just want to preface it by saying that every weapon on this list from here on out is amazing. I really like all of them, and I could understand any argument you would make to swap some positions, and I would love to hear what you guys think about some of these. So the next weapon that we have on the list is the returning pulse rifle that a lot of people are really excited about, the Bad Juju. And so this was a pulse rifle from Destiny 1, and it was brought back in Tribute Hall during Season of Opulence. The exotic perk for this is called String of Curses, which kills refill the magazine, increase damage for a short duration, and grants super energy based on the strength of String of Curses, fires full auto. So this is a weapon that I feel like is decent in both PvE, PvP, and PvEVP if you count Gambit. I like this weapon in all three. I just don't think that it shines on any of them. I just think it's good. And so if you use it in PvE, I think you're going to have a great time stringing kills and firing full auto and feeling like you have a lot of ammo all the time and that you're refilling your super pretty quickly. I think that that's pretty decent. I think those same reasons will carry over into Gambit for why it's also decent in Gambit. And then on the PvP side of things, it is a decent pulse rifle to use. I just think that they're better legendary pulse rifles you could use in the Crucible if you really wanted to use a pulse rifle, just in my honest opinion. Bad Juju's not a bad one, it's a fun one. I don't think it's too hard to get, so if you do have some extra time on your hands, go get Bad Juju and play around with it. I think you definitely will enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think of the Bad Juju. The next weapon on this list is from Black Armory. It's called the Anarchy, and it can drop from powerful frames randomly in any forge, so it just requires you to get lucky. It's not a long quest. And so let's talk about this weapon. So its exotic perk is Poison Arrows, and what it means is arrows firing quickly after a full draw become poison arrows. Precision hits with poison arrows spread poison to nearby enemies. So this weapon will kind of remind you of like a Thorn that's a bow. And so the poison arrows really do hurt a lot in terms of Crucible. If you're on the receiving end of it, it's definitely going to be annoying. If you're on the dealing end of it, you're going to be able to get a decent amount of kills if you hang out in the back and just let the poison do its trick. It's also cool that the poison can spread on precision shots as well, which almost acts as if it's like Dragonfly. So it is really, really cool. In PvE and Gambit as well, this is another really decent option. I do believe that there are better options than it in these respective game modes, as well as also in Crucible as well. So it's just one of those weapons where if you have it, it's a solid option. If you're really good at it, I would or really good with a bow, excuse me, I should say, it's one that I definitely recommend you use if you are a bow user. I do overall think there's other weapons that are just better for certain use cases, but it's one that is solid, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. So if you do like bows, I highly recommend you try the Anarchy. The next two weapons on the list we're just gonna kind of clump together, one being the Last Word that dropped during Black Armory, and then the Thorn that dropped during Season of the Drifter. Both of these are exotic hand cannons that came from Destiny 1, so let's just go ahead and talk about both of them and why they're both so popular in this game. So starting off with the Last Word, we have a fan favorite that people loved a lot in Destiny 1 because it's an old school style hand cannon where you're hip firing, and it just feels very cool when you're using it. And so the intrinsic perk for the Last Word is Fanfire, and so it says this weapon can be fired quickly and continuously, faster reload, and increased accuracy on successive hip fire damage. So this is a PvP beast if you're really good with it. I know some people on consoles sometimes will say that it's a little bit harder to control, but I do believe it's one where if you are just getting used to its recoil pattern, it's one that you can still dominate with, whether you're on PC or on console. Either way, I think you guys will enjoy it a lot if you get used to it and if you practice with it. It's one that I recommend a lot more in PvP than in PvE or Gambit. I think that it has a lot more use when you're playing in Crucible than some of the other game modes. And then when we talk about Thorn, I actually prefer Thorn a little bit more in PvE than I do Last Word, and then I prefer it a little bit less in Crucible than I do of Last Word. So they kind of flip-flop. That's why I like talking about both of them together. So lastly then, let's talk a little bit about Thorn. That's going to round out our exotic trio for hand cannons that are in the annual pass with Last Word, Thorn, and Lumina. And so the intrinsic perk of Thorn is Mark of the Devourer. So rounds pierce targets and deal damage over time. Kills with this weapon leave behind remnants. So you remember before with Lumina we talked about remnants. So with the remnants with Thorn that they leave behind, when you pick these up, you're able to do a lot more damage with your Thorn once you pick these up. And this does amazing with chain kills for ads in PvE, which is why I talked about enjoying Thorn a little bit more on the PvE side of things than Last Word, because I think the remnants do awesome. But then on the Crucible side of things as well, you can use remnants to your advantage to actually 2-tap again and feel like you're in Destiny 1. And this was something that I really appreciated on the PvP side of things with Thorn when it was brought back, because I didn't want Thorn to feel essentially useless in Crucible if it was going to be brought back into D2. And I do think this is a cool way of making it viable in a lot of ways. So Thorn is definitely a great option for PvE or PvP. Remnants are a cool addition to the Thorn that wasn't a feature of it really in Destiny 1. And so overall, I like Thorn, I like Last Word. I recommend you try them both. Both of the quests can be a little bit lengthy, but there will be links on how to get both of them in the comments, so just make sure that you check that out and let me know what you guys think about Thorn, Lumina, and Last Word, and if you are happy about the exotic hand cannons that came about in the annual pass. The next weapon on our list is called the Arbalist. It's a linear fusion rifle that's in the Kinetic slot, and it's the only one of its kind, so this is very, very cool. It came out during Season of the Drifter, during the Revelry, and now since that's ended, it's available through any random drop, and it actually can also drop through Zur, which is really cool. That was surprising when it did. So let's go ahead and talk about this unique weapon. So as we said, it's in the Kinetic slot and it's a linear fusion rifle. So this is a very, very high damage output kinetic weapon, and so its intrinsic perk is Compounding Force, and that means it fires slugs that cause massive damage to elemental shields of enemy combatants. So the really cool thing about this is when you're doing things like Nightfalls that have a lot of shielded enemies, or even the Outbreak Perfected mission that has a lot of shielded enemies, this thing is a beast for just removing enemy shields very quickly without having to burn a lot of ammo from a normal kinetic weapon or having to burn a lot of your heavy weapon either. This is a very great way of knocking out shields very quickly, and it's a beast. It's really, really good and a great option for a lot of different use cases in PvE, and isn't bad when it comes to DPS as well. It's a really cool option. It's also really cool in the Crucible. There's not a lot of flinch and recoil. It's not too bad. It's an easy weapon to shoot, has great stability, and you're able to hit headshots pretty decently, and even body shots to an enemy do pretty well. And then lastly, in Gambit, this weapon also does great. I enjoy it in Gambit, and whether it's taking out enemies or it's even using it as primeval damage at the end of rounds as well. It's not a bad option anywhere. It's really, really cool. I would definitely suggest, if you guys do get a chance to use it, try it out, because it's a really good option as a kinetic weapon, especially if you're looking for a weapon that takes special ammo that's gonna do great DPS. Arbalist is a great choice, so try it out and let me know what you think of it. The next weapon we have on our list is a fan favorite from Destiny 1. This is called the Truth. It's an exotic rocket launcher, and let's just go over its exotic perk real quick. It's called Prototype True Seeker. So this weapon's rockets have tracking, lock onto targets when aiming down sights. So this is one that's very, very fun to use and very, very annoying to go against. So the reason why it's so good is two really good reasons. The first is that it's able to track, and that works really well when you're trying to kill people in Crucible, as well as when you're trying to either kill invaders or when you also invade in Gambit. And the other really good perk, or it's not even really a perk, but you're able to have 3 in the chamber, and that's something that's not like any of the other rockets in Destiny 2 right now. So that puts it above all of its really all of the competition that it has amongst other rocket launchers in Destiny 2. And so in Gambit and in Gambit Prime and in Crucible, this is going to be an amazing option. If you get heavy in Crucible, you can go crazy with truth kills just across the map. Wherever you may be, you're able to get kills really easily with truth. The same thing applies for Gambit and Gambit Prime. This is a weapon that's more so better in the sense when you're going against other people versus killing ads in PvE. I feel like there's better options that you can choose on the PvE side of things, but in the PvP side of things and the Gambit side of things as well, Truth is an amazing option. Try it out, guys. I have nothing but good things to say about the Truth. It's a very fun rocket launcher to use. The next weapon on our list, I'm not gonna lie, was a hard one for me to rank because I'm really back and forth on this weapon, and it's the Crown of Sorrows raid weapon, the Dattara Buff. It's an SMG and it's in the energy weapon slot, and we're gonna go ahead and talk about first why this is kind of hard for me to rank. And it's because I feel like it gets a bad rap and gets undermined because of just how great Recluse is. I think this is a great weapon, but at the same time, because of the standards that we've been set to, I feel like it's not as great, or it's not as glorified as it could be because of what we're already used to. So I did just want to preface things with that. So I understand why people would either want this weapon ranked a little bit lower or a little bit higher. I kind of understand both sides of the spectrum on this weapon. So you can get this weapon as a random drop when you finish Crown of Sorrows. And let's go ahead and talk about its exotic perk. So it's called Ravenous Beast. So this weapon stores power when dealing or receiving damage. Once full, hold reload to unleash the beast. So the cool thing about this is once you do have this thing fully charged up, you you're in control for when you actually use it, so you can wait longer and use it a little bit later. You can use it instantly. That's something that's kind of cool versus Master of Arms, that it doesn't proc immediately, it procs when you say so. Another thing that's cool is that it lasts a little bit longer, so that's also something that I like as well. This weapon is just a very, very hard-hitting SMG, and the reason why I like SMGs in general that are like this, so such as Recluse and this weapon, are because they're able to do high DPS outputs to like mid-tier adds, even though they take kinetic, or I should say primary ammo. So this weapon's not going to be burning up a bunch of special. This is ammo that you're going to be able to have all of the time, and once you have Ravenous Beast unlocked, or procced, excuse me, you're going to be doing high outputs of damage, and you're really going to be mowing through ads very, very easily and really enjoying life with this weapon. It's a weapon that I definitely would recommend trying. If Recluse ever receives a nerf, I think this weapon's going to see a lot more love. That's just my own personal theory on it. Let me know what you guys think about Tarba. Do you love it or hate it? I'm pretty curious on what you think about it. Other than what we touched on, Tarba also performs really well in Crucible. Once you proc Ravenous Beast, you're going to be able to go ham on enemies in the Crucible from pretty great ranges. It just hits very, very hard, and you're going to be able to chain kills very well. And if you can keep Ravenous Beast procced, I mean, you're going to be going on killing sprees. So it is really well in Crucible, or it does perform really well in Crucible. And also the same thing kind of applies in Gambit as well. You're going to be killing so many enemies in Gambit that once you do get this thing procced, you're just going to be bulldozing through enemies. You're not going to have any trouble taking down blockers or whatever the case may be when you're using this weapon. So definitely one to try. Guys, let me know what you think. The next weapon we have on our list is the Kinetic Sniper Rifle, the Izanagi's Burden. This sniper rifle came out during Black Armory, and if you're curious on how to get it, it is a pretty lengthy quest, so go ahead and click on the link that I have in the pinned comment or the description if you're curious on how to get it. So now let's go ahead and talk about this weapon. So starting off with this exotic perk, it's called Honed Edge, and what that means is holding reload consumes the magazine and loads a round with additional range and damage. So what's really cool about this is that you can consume up to 4 bullets and then make a charged bullet of either power times 4, or honed edge times 4 I should say, honed edge times 3, honed edge times 2, or normal bullet. And each one of these honed edged times a higher multiplier means more damage. So we're going to go ahead and talk about kind of how that damage stacks and why this is such a valuable weapon in the right hands and in the right use cases. So normally Izanagi's Burden as a normal shot will hit 69,152, times 2 on honed edge will hit 137,897, times 3 will hit 193,779, and then times 4 will hit a whopping 344,900 on one shot from a kinetic weapon. So you can see why this is such a high DPS output and why it's a really cool option. And at one time, people really thought that this was going to be competing with Whisper of the Worm when Whisper of the Worm was in its prime. So that's really cool. But one thing that was introduced in the following season, or I should say 2 following seasons in Season of Opulence, was Izanagi's Burden's Catalyst, which is even cooler because what that allows you to do is have your 4 times honed edge shot be much stronger than it would be normally. So if you have the Catalyst and you shoot a honed edge times 4 shot, the shot's going to do 413,872 damage on one shot. So as you can see, that is incredibly strong, and with only a few honed edge times 4 bullets, you could do more than 1,000,000 DPS output very quickly. So this is a very great option when it comes to DPS. In terms of the PvP side of things, this thing is also a beast because what I like about it is its ability to not flinch crazy, where when I feel like I'm getting shot, I can still hit decent shots with it. But B, the other thing that's really cool about it is with those honed edge shots, you're able to kill people out of their supers. So on times 2 honed edge, you do 256 on a shot. On times 3, you do 360 per shot. Times 4, you do a whopping 640 per shot, and then a normal shot even does 129, which is also really great. So the normal shot doesn't quite take somebody out of the super, but the other shots are where you can do a lot of super shutdowns, and I think that's really cool. These same advantages that I'm talking about in PvP also work amazing for Gambit. I think it's a very great Gambit weapon because it has a combination of both aspects where you can shut down invaders, you can invade really easily, and you can use the this weapon for high DPS as well in Gambit as well. So Izanagi's Burden overall is an amazing weapon. I think it performs great in Gambit, I think it performs great in PvP, and I think it performs great in PvE. It's a great weapon. I think it's fun, and I think everybody should definitely try it out. It is a lengthy quest, like I said, but definitely worth something going for. The next weapon we have on our list is the Scourge of the Past exotic. It's called the Anarchy. It's a grenade launcher, and let's go ahead and get right into its intrinsic perk. It's called Arc Traps, and that means that grenades stick to surfaces and chain arc bolts to other mines. So before we talk about this perk, I just want to say that this is a weapon that I feel like is really coming to power during Season of Opulence. I'm seeing a lot of people use it in a lot of high-level in-game activities, such as the Crown of Sorrows raid and a lot of other places. I think that this weapon is a beast in PvE now, and those arc traps just chain and eat away at enemies' health so quickly, and as you can see me doing here in EP, it's just destroying the bosses, and it just leaves them where they're not able to move, and their health just gets evaporated from them. This is a great option in PvE. It's a great option in Gambit, and it's not bad in PvP. I would definitely recommend using something else in PvP before you use Anarchy, but in terms of PvE and Gambit, this is a weapon that's unbelievable. It does amazing damage to bigger enemies, and I just think it's something that you should definitely try if you're lucky enough to get the drop. Anarchy is one that I feel like was decent during its time when it came out during Black Armory, but now has received just so much more use, and I think it's one that you should try out and let me know what you think. The next weapon on our list is a very great weapon, but very trolly. It has a lot of different nicknames. You can call it the potato shooter, you can call it the Joe, you can call it the toaster, whatever you call it. It's known as the Yotan, and it came during Black Armory, and this, all jokes aside, is an amazing weapon no matter what you're using it in. In PvE, this is an absolute beast, and I use it all the time when I'm helping people out with the Outbreak Perfected mission. This is a weapon that uses special, it's in the energy slot, and it just hits like it's a heavy weapon, and it hits harder than some heavy weapons, or at least sometimes it feels like it. It does great damage, and you get a lot of ammo, and let's just talk about its exotic perk real quick. It's called Charge Shot, and so hold down the trigger to charge up a tracking shot that explodes and burns on impact. So the biggest thing to note there is that it's a tracking shot. So not only is this thing super powerful, but it also tracks as well. So this is an energy weapon that takes special ammo, that hits like a heavy weapon, that also tracks. So it's really just got the best of every single world, and it does amazing damage to bosses or to normal adds in PvE. In Gambit, this is going to do amazing for if you're invading. It's going to do amazing if you're shutting down invaders. It's going to do great on just normal adds, and it's also going to do great on primeval damage as well. So it's great in Gambit. And then lastly, in PvP, it does really well. You're going to annoy everybody on the other team, but it also does really well in PvP as well. It's one that's pretty brainless, where all you do is charge and shoot, and you're going to get a lot of kills with this. This is a great weapon where if you ever need solar kills too on any sort of type of quest, this is going to be a very great weapon for you. This weapon drops randomly from Powerful Frames and Bergusia Forged, so try it out every week and see if you can get it to drop. It took me a while to get mine, but you're not going to be disappointed with the Yotan. I think that this weapon deserves to be very high up because of the amount of damage it's able to do with special ammo, how great it's able to do in Crucible, and how great it's able to do in Gambit. Makes it an overall beast, no matter if you hate it or if you love it. Definitely try out the Yotan. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And the last weapon on our list that's at the top slot is the Solar Rocket Launcher that came from Solar Week. Oh wait, Bungie didn't release a Solar Week. Bungie, there's still time, please. The actual weapon is the Outbreak Perfected. This is a weapon that came out during Season of the Drifter with an amazing mission attached to it. I recommend checking out the link in the description or the top comment to see how to get Outbreak. This is a very cool one that returned from Destiny 1. In Destiny 1 it was called Outbreak Prime. In Destiny 2 it's called Outbreak Perfected, and it definitely is better in Destiny 2 than it was in Destiny 1. So let's go ahead and talk about the intrinsic perk, which is the Corruption Spreads, which reads, this weapon creates Siva nanite swarms on rapid hits and precision kills. So this weapon does so much damage because of these nanites, and it's important to note that this weapon takes primary ammo. It's not like it takes special ammo, and it's not like it takes heavy. So you can couple this weapon with a very strong special weapon and a very strong heavy weapon and still have your primary weapon doing amazing damage. And so that's why I really like Outbreak Perfected, because this weapon has worked its way into a lot of DPS strats in raids like Crown of Sorrow, and also Scourge of the Past, and other raids as well, and other high level activities where if you have a group of Outbreak Perfecteds, you're gonna destroy bosses. This is a weapon that does amazing despite the fact that it takes primary ammo, and that's why I love it so much. The more Outbreaks you have, the more you can pile on the Siva nanites. The catalyst increases nanite damage, and enemies that die with nanites attached to them generate additional nanites, which allow more nanites to be piling on to the pile. And if you have a lot of Outbreaks with the Outbreak catalyst, it's just gonna go crazy. So this is a very great weapon on the PvE side of things. I give it a huge recommendation that you try to go for this weapon. And if you're not able to get this weapon, I do a lot of help streams helping out people get Outbreak Perfecteds. I think we're up into the 120s, so if you ever pop into our streams, I'll try to help you guys get your Outbreak Perfecteds, because I would love to see you guys try this weapon out. Also on the PvP side of things, this thing is also no sleeper. This thing is a great weapon in PvP, and it's one of the better pulses. There are definitely pulses that are better than it, but it's still a great option if you're looking for a pulse rifle that's not hard to use. Lastly, in Gambit, this weapon's also a beast because it does well on ads, it does well on invaders, it does not bad in invading, and lastly, it also does great on the prime evil damage in Gambit as well. So this weapon is a beast no matter where you're using it, and the best thing about it is no matter what other weapons you're pairing this with, this is a weapon that you should 99.9% of the time always have ammo for, because primary ammo is very easy to come by. So this is one of those weapons where it allows you to keep doing high DPS outputs regardless of if you have ammo or not with your special weapon or your heavy weapon, and that's why I love the Outbreak Perfected and why I recommend you try to go for it. And that's why me personally, it's at the top slot for me. Now remember, this is an opinion based list. I know that may be hard to believe, but my opinion is not the only one out there, as we have billions of other people in this world. So knowing that, I know that you guys probably have different opinions, and instead of telling me that I'm wrong, just let me know what you guys think about your list. I want to know your opinion. I want to know my opinion, because my opinion is the right opinion for me and your opinion is the right opinion for you, and that's why I want to hear all of your guys' right opinions as well, because you're all entitled to your opinions and I definitely want to hear them in the comments. So let's have an amazing conversation about what you think about all the annual pass weapons that have come so far. Are you guys excited for the exotic weapons that are coming in Shadowkeep, and what did you guys think about the list that we talked about here today? Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, and if you're new, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you guys again. Thank you so much, and with that, I'm gonna talk to you guys in the next Destiny video. Thanks, I love you guys.
My feces equipped, they shot to the lip. Take out the coin, then I flip. Pull out the thorn, then it's ripped. Dragon tattooed on my hip. Invading like my name is Zim. Dunking these moves like a rim. Yes, I am harder than Shin. Making you pay for your sins. The drift of the 9. Yeah, I'm rolling with them.
No, I'm not fine. I feel incredible. No, I'm not regular. Stand on a pedestal. Joker's wild when he's off of his medicine. For my squad, I go hard like an animal. Bygones. Got your head on the reticle, no trust. You need to go level a man down, but no, I'm not giving up. I think that I said enough.